It's time to have a look at what's going on in the international papers. Diptyque Laurent is here for a roundup of those papers. And we'll start with the 2-year anniversary since the disappearance of those Nigerian schoolgirls, something that's obviously captivating the press around the world. Apparently, some of the parents received phone calls from their own daughters.
Well, we heard about the video that was released by Boko Haram showing that some of the girls may be still alive. Now, according to the Daily Post, a Nigerian local paper, 5 parents of the kidnapped girls had received strange missed calls from the numbers of their daughters' phones. This information was actually disclosed to journalists at a meeting representing the Chibok community on Wednesday. Apparently, all the calls were missed calls, and when the parents rang back, they were threatened by whoever was on the other line.
Terrifying stuff. And of course, the disappearance of those girls was what sparked the Bring Back Our Girls campaign right at the beginning. But since then, it had all but died out.
It really has died out. The International Crisis Group, at least 2 members of the International Crisis Group, have penned a blog basically calling for this movement to sort of come back. And it appeared in All Africa, which is a website that sort of aggregates all news about the continent. Now, the writers Ayo Obe and Namdi Obasi remind readers that while the girls have sort of come to symbolize the terror of Boko Haram, they are only a tiny percentage of the women and children affected by the violence from these militants. And they're urging the Nigerian government, the president, Muhammadu Buhari, and the international community to find the girls and free them. Not doing so, the writers say, would have a, quote, permanent burden on the international community's conscience.
And moving over to the US, where Barack Obama has said that the Islamic State group's cause is lost. They're essentially losing out to the US-led coalition. But social media has a different idea about all of that.
At least according to the Wall Street Journal, it's on the front page this morning, Belle. It's the social media battlefield. That's what they're saying. Now, Twitter is actually the social media of choice for the jihadists, mainly because you can set up several accounts without actually having to disclose your real identity. Now, the journal looks in particular at Abu al-Walid. He's a notorious operative for the militants. He's sort of the point person, if you like, when it comes to propaganda. Just hours after the Brussels attacks, for example, his Twitter message promising black days for Crusader nations, I quote there, was taken down. But he kept popping up, presumably using one of his many hundreds of Twitter accounts. Now, the internet has sort of become a signature element of modern warfare. That's what the journal is saying. And private intelligence firms are now jumping on board to help weed out these sort of jihadi accounts. But to little success, at least if you look at the figures in this article. According to one firm, of 500 IS group militants tracked online, a whopping 95% of them return back after their accounts are being terminated.
A huge number. And moving on now to a story that's been making waves in the Australian press, but it's about a botched kidnapping in Lebanon.
That's right. It's a crazy story, Belle. In a nutshell, it's a child custody saga that kind of went really wrong between an Australian mother, Sally Faulkner, and her estranged Lebanese husband. She enlisted the services of a child abduction agency to help retrieve her 2 young children who were with their father in Lebanon. He had taken them there last May and didn't bring them back. Now, a television crew from the Australian version of 60 Minutes were there to film the recovery. However, the child snatch went horribly wrong. And the kid's grandmother in the process was actually physically assaulted. As a result, the TV crew and Sally Faulkner, the mother herself, have been charged with kidnap, assault, and conspiracy on Wednesday. They're facing up to 10 years in prison.
And not only that, but it's also threatening to disturb diplomatic relations between the 2 countries.
At least we can say that Australian and Lebanese authorities are doing all they can to sort of minimize the tensions that could be arising. Lebanese authorities have called it arrogant and stupid, this whole scene. The Australian ambassador has actually met with the Lebanese foreign minister, according to An-Nahar, which is a Lebanese newspaper, and they're actually going to form a committee to officially to sort of address the custody dispute, especially given that Lebanese authorities are saying that they have evidence that Channel 9, which is a network that runs the 60 Minutes program, actually paid for the child recovery to the sum of $115,000.
Right, well, let's end with a story. We'll call it a happy story. And that is that North Korean defectors have become superstars in South Korea.
Well, superstars, reality stars, I'm not sure if there's a difference or there might be. Well, anyway, the defections from North Korea are extremely rare and, as we know, extremely dangerous. But it does seem that those who do make it into South Korea have become somewhat of a celebrity there. That's the case for Chang Yang-ju, who escaped by swimming the river. She's now appeared in over 100 reality TV episodes. And it's basically, The Guardian here is calling it the rise of defector TV, a new craze that sees them participating in different shows, from comedies to dating to talk shows to even Survivor-like adventure shows. It's all part of sensitizing South Koreans to the plight of North Koreans.
Thank you very much. Diptyka Laurent there with the International Press Review. That's it for me for the minute. I'll be back just a second, though. Do stay with us.